we said going into the draft is that, the Indianapolis Colts need a quarterback. Where are they going to go? They probably weren't going to get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. And so, the two rawest quarterbacks out there, in fact, the most raw quarterback out there is Anthony Richardson of Florida. And when the Colts chose him over Will Levis, that was a very, very bad sign for Will Levis because they both played in the SEC. Levis had better stats. Levis started more games. He was more productive. Wasn't as raw. Same SEC. A lot of the same opponents. And Indy said to Will Levis, hard pass. And went with the kid who completed 54% of his college throws. I'm told Richardson came across more humble and grateful in interviews, and that lots of coaches thought Will Levis and Anthony Richardson both needed fixing, and one would be easier to fix with a much higher upside. And Will Levis comes across as a little cocky. He loves his arm. He loves the gun show, which I hated. The sleeveless shirts, not a good look. I was told by two executives and a head coach that was an absolute turnoff, showing the biceps. Quarterbacks, go look at the history of them. They don't look like that. Will Levis loves Will Levis. And so he's got to be fixed. He throws too many picks. And Anthony Richardson's got to be fixed. He throws picks and also is just too darn raw. But the coaches feel they can fix him. He's more coachable. He's more grateful. He's more humble. The other thing here is, and again, hated the gun show, hated the bathroom selfies. Whenever you see a normal person doing that, a goober doing that on the internet, it's like like loser. You can't have franchise quarterbacks doing that. And I hear this a lot. And I've pushed back on this every time. Whenever I hear, I want my quarterback to have a little arrogance. Like Jay Cutler, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel, Kyler Murray. If you start looking at the string of quarterbacks who had the label a little cocky and a little arrogant, it now worked out well. Listen, Patrick Mahomes is humble. Brady, for his reign, overwhelmingly humble. Peyton Manning, humble. You can't be cocky coming out of the SEC when you throw that many picks. Sorry, can't have it. I didn't like it with Baker. I didn't like it with Johnny Manziel. I've recently not liked it with Kyler Murray. I didn't like it with Jay Cutler. I don't like it with Will Levis. Will Levis likes Will Levis. Not into it. I figured he'd go 4 because he was just less raw. He could step in and within some recent time play. I don't think Anthony Richardson plays at all or much in year 1. But Indianapolis was willing to forego that. Their GM said, he's not, don't put a lot of expectations on him. He's not ready to go. But being humble, being gracious, being coachable, even as a star athlete, matters a lot. If you need fixing, nobody wants to see cocky. Nobody wants to see a selfie. Nobody wants to see a gun show. You don't get it with Mahomes, and he's the best player in the world. Okay, so Lamar Jackson has signed a deal. A lot of it guaranteed, but not all of it. That's reasonable. Both sides win. But I was thinking about this morning. Did they really have a choice? I mean, think about this in the AFC. The New York Jets add Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you've heard of him. Trevor Lawrence, only getting better, ascending. Justin Herbert now has another receiver in the draft and clever offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. Deshaun Watson was rusty last year. He'll be better. Sean Payton has a Hall of Fame level coach. Russell Wilson does. He'll be better. The floor, like the 10th, 11th best quarterback in the AFC, is Ryan Tannehill, who got to an AFC championship, and Jimmy Garoppolo, who got to a Super Bowl. The AFC feels like the SEC in college football, and the NFC feels like the rest of the Power Five, just not quite the SEC. And you start looking around, in the NFC, Geno Smith made the playoffs. Brock Purdy, a rookie in the 7th round, made the playoffs. Daniel Jones made the playoffs. Kirk Cousins was arguably the second best NFC quarterback in the playoffs. Next year in the AFC, you got guys like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers could miss the playoffs. So there's certain things in certain areas you have to have. In Phoenix, you have to have a pool. In Alaska, you have to have a winter jacket. And in the AFC, you got to have special at quarterback. You can't have a BB gun. There's a lot of different ways to win in the NFC. Defense and running. The Giants get to the playoffs. 7th round quarterback on the cheap. Stack your roster. Niners. Seahawks. Take a former bust quarterback. Hit a bunch of home runs in the draft. Lead you to the playoffs. Seahawks. There's a lot of ways to make the playoffs in the NFC. In the AFC, do you have special at quarterback? And you could have your criticisms of Lamar. I think his agent situation is unorthodox. I thought he was way too noisy. Some of that's generational. Some of it's Instagram stuff I just don't do, so I don't have a feel for it. But in the end, I don't think the Ravens had a choice. If you start in the NFL and you win 75% of your starts, that's what Patrick Mahomes does. He just finishes seasons better than Lamar Jackson. But they both win 3 out of 4 starts. And I know, what about the playoffs? Go look at Peyton Manning's early playoff record. Aaron Rodgers' playoff record. I think it's a game under 500. John Elway got routed, humiliated, embarrassed in Super Bowls before he got a stable running game. You can't draft a quarterback just because you think he can win Super Bowls. Dan Marino got to 1, never got back. You draft a quarterback because you think he can win games on Sunday and carry a team in crisis and win the division consistently and get you to the postseason. And then once the postseason happens, healthy team wins, coaching matters, home field matters, where you play matters, how's your offensive line. You can't just judge every quarterback on, will he win a Super Bowl? Otherwise, would the Texans take C.J. Stroud? Would Carolina take Bryce Young? Lamar Jackson makes you stable and special at the most important position. And in the AFC, you got to have special. There's like one way to win. Have the dude.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.